In the capital of Belarus, extraordinary displays of defiance by state company employees. Visiting tractor workers in Minsk, President Alexander Lukashenko insisted there will be no new elections until he's killed, while adding he may be willing to redistribute power. As thousands of striking state workers marched towards the tractor works plant, demanding the president step down, Lukashenko flew away in his helicopter. All of this coming on the heels of a massive rally on Sunday, and as anger about the results of last weekend's election continues to grow. While the official count of the August 9th vote gave Lukashenko 80% and his opponent Svetlana Tikhanovskaya only 10%, the opposition says the result was rigged. Large-scale protests continued even after Tikhanovskaya left the country for Lithuania last week, which her campaign team said was made under duress. In a new video message, the opposition leader said she was ready to help lead Belarus during a transition period.
We all want to leave this loop that we found ourselves in 26 years ago. I am ready to take on the responsibility and become the national leader in this period, with the goal of calming the situation and entering into a normal period, freeing political prisoners, and in the shortest time creating the conditions and legislative base to organise new presidential elections. Real, honest and transparent elections that will be unequivocally accepted by the international community.
Even state TV station workers joined the nationwide strike. Viewers who tuned into the morning show saw only an empty studio. In Poland, ahead of an emergency conference call by European Union ministers on Belarus, Poland's deputy foreign minister said EU funds should be spent to support Belarus.
We reach out our hand and the EU also reaches out its hand to Belarus. But it's up to Belarusians to decide which direction they want their country to go. I have an impression that through these protests and by shouting out their disagreement, they tell us what kind of Belarus they for sure do not want. And therefore, we can interpret from it what Belarus they would like to have.
Belarus finds itself at a crossroads, an embattled president refusing to end his 26 years in power versus committed protesters refusing to end their rebellion. Mohammed, Jamjoom, Jazeera.
As the mass movement continues in Belarus, European Union leaders will meet for an emergency summit on Wednesday. They'll discuss the disputed election and the violent crackdown on protesters. The European Council President Charles Michel tweeted that violence against demonstrators cannot be allowed. The EU is already drawing up a list of Belarusian individuals to hit with sanctions. Dominic Keynes in Berlin and brings us more on the reaction from Europe.
There's been a chorus of condemnation from across Europe's capitals to the events that have unfolded in Minsk and in Belarus at a wider level in the last few days, in the last week or so. And in this capital city, in Berlin, the government pressing for strong measures to be taken, part of a raft of ideas that are coming from Europe right now. The Polish government, a view from there being that the European Endowment for Democracy should be enacted to help the situation in Belarus, and then at a pan-European level from Brussels, the President of the European Council, Xavier Michel, calling a special summit, video conference of heads of state, heads of government for Wednesday to discuss what more can be done, given the fact that the European Union's clout, as it were, is political and economic, not military. So the European Union looking to try to ratchet up the pressure it can put in Belarus to help the situation there, remembering that one head of state, the French President Emmanuel Macron, has said that the views of the protesters in Belarus must be respected. If you view things from that prism, it explains how the European Union reaction is unfolding. But the summit to be held on Wednesday to discuss what more can be done.
Richard Weitz is a security and defense analyst at Wikistrat. It's a global risk consultancy, and he says only Russia can help Lukashenko in this situation.
The one way that Belarusian President Lukashenko could escape from what looks to be his likely downfall is to get the Russians to intervene on his behalf. And there's not a lot of love for Lukashenko in the Kremlin. So he has to sell this as, look, Belarus is under threat from NATO. If I fall, then NATO will take over the country. And I think that's why you see the Belarusian forces moving to the border, because it helps them develop this narrative of, look, Western powers are behind these protests. They're trying to overthrow me. Moscow, you need to save us, or you're going to end up with another Ukraine situation.